because I have one of those things that you plug into your phone. So I just had to take screenshots. But dude, that coyote that came ripping after him, holy fuck, was that thing big?
All right, so we are live on Facebook. Audio good.
We're good.
Live on the YouTube, and YouTube is good as well.
I might pop in with comments here and there.
That's fine. We can hear you, I think, on the mic. So, welcome everybody back to Whitetails and Whiskey, episode number 9.
Number 9.
And if you guys tuned in last week, we had a cold front sit alert, and, well, needless to say, we got up on cloud 9 of that sit alert.
We did pretty good.
Did pretty good. Nate kicked it off. Shot a good buck, Rocky. We got a couple stories tonight to obviously tell with this. Nate tagged Rocky over on one of his pieces. And then I was fortunate enough to tag Hornet. And then Dad was able to tag a buck we call Halfway, who is the official bar buck of the night. Me and Nate got after it the last 2 days and got him cleaned up. Mostly Nate, finishing him up with the peroxide.
Ben did all the hard work. I did the
finish work.
Well, it's easy when you're on a sabbatical for 6.5 months a year.
He's back to work.
Back to work. Been back to work for 2 months or 2 weeks.
Oh, it's about time.
Yeah. So anyway,
Jake is back. We just didn't have time to arrange the camera. He kind of popped in late.
Yep. So, but that's what we got going on tonight. We got a bunch of stories coming tonight, like always. Drop in with your comments, questions, everything like that. Where you're tuning in from, we'd love to hear from you guys. We love the interactive back and forth chats. Makes us fun and enjoyable for us. But we're doing something that we only break out for when we kill. And that is, first story of the night is the Wild Turkey Rare Breed Private Stock Old Tin Cup Edition. So when my was girlfriend at the time, now wife, Hannah was working down in Kentucky, working for AmeriCorps. I went down to visit her, and we went and toured the Wild Turkey Distillery. So, and that was a Sunday afternoon. They were open super short hours. I was turning around and leaving, I think, like Monday afternoon. I was going to drive back home, get back to work on Tuesday. And we're in there, and I bought this bottle. And I was like, it'd be really cool because they did private, stock labels or whatever you wanted to write on the label. They custom print them for you. You buy your bottle, and then they slap a label on it. So, long story short, I buy this. I buy the table runner that's in here, on the bar. A couple other things like that. Just being, all touristy while we're down there. And then we're sitting there and they had like a little food court area. So we're having a little sandwich or whatever it was. Taking a couple more pictures inside the distillery, and one of the workers comes over and says, that's Jimmy Russell right there, Master Distiller Jimmy Russell. He came in with his wife after work to have a little glass out of a couple batches and do a little taste testing. So I walked over, and this bottle is actually signed before Jimmy passed, I think 2 years ago. Was signed by him when I was down there. So this is the only tin cup stock, and it is signed by Jimmy.
That is a real marker. Is that it?
Yeah, that's the Jimmy Russell signature on there with a gold Sharpie.
That's beautiful.
He's got
this is the bottle.
He's got nice handwriting. I wish I could write like that.
So Jimmy Russell signed this bottle. R.I.P. Jimmy. But that's what we're drinking tonight, and this only gets, like I said, busted out when we kill. So I think we warranted it. Nate got his biggest bow buck. I got my biggest bow buck. I don't know if he's going to quite go my biggest, but he's
close.
He's going to be close to bow. I mean, he's definitely got outlaw beat. But so we're gonna sip these. We're gonna put them in little schnooters to sip. Jake wants a shot of Bird Dog while we sip on our private stock. Nate bartender of the night.
I haven't killed yet, but there's hope.
There is. There's a lot of season left. I know a couple people I know have killed the last couple days too, even with these warmer temperatures we've had. So.
And I'm on vacation.
And Jake's on his first leg of his rutcation right now. So.
You got a shot glass? No.
Yeah, the clean ones are right there.
Oh, fancy.
So here's to friends, family, and everybody tuning in. Hopefully,
Jake's gonna shoot it. We're gonna sip because this baby's special.
Hopefully, everyone has a successful season.
Yeah, good luck to everybody. Be safe, shoot straight.
That is a lot smoother than regular wild turkey.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
And I do like those. This one comes out, so each barrel proof batch is different. The one we did the other night on the Whitetails and whiskey, that one was like a 117. This one's a 112, and I think that's about the perfect, if you can get that barrel proof on that, like 112, 113 range, 110. Comes out really, really good.
I've had a few rare breeds in the past, and I've had a couple bottles that'll bite you good, and a couple that were nice, just really sip.
Yeah, this one's good, but it definitely tastes a lot different than the other bottle of rare breed up there that we had on the Whitetails and whiskey already. So, but yeah, so trying something new. I put a couple questions up on the Facebook thing. I don't even know if they're showing up, coming up, whatever. A couple things where people are tuning in from, because I've had people reach out that are in different states that have tuned into the podcast. I mean, Derek tunes in, and then we've had a couple guys I know down in Ohio, North Carolina that have tuned in too and checked it out. So we want to know where you guys are tuning in from. Most of New York, I'm assuming, but stuff, cool things like that. And like I said, always the chat's open for questions and comments. But yeah, do we want to start rolling right into the stories tonight, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we'll just start them in order, how they
fell,
how they went feet up.
Yeah.
I guess that leaves me to start.
Yeah, you killed first.
So
we got kind of everybody around tonight.
Yeah, we got stuff, but this here is is Rocky. It's pretty heavy 6-point. If I had to guess, I would say he was 4.5, because he did dress at 210 pounds, and he's got, what did you measure the bases? 4 7/8?
Yeah, 4 and 5, and then 4 and 7. Yep,
almost 5-inch bases. And he carries his mass up through, as you can clearly see. But I do have a two-year history with this buck, and I just started hunting the piece. It was a piece that my father-in-law and my wife actually hunted that I didn't really spend a whole lot of time on, and I guess I just decided last year that I was going to ask if I could go over there and revamp their setups and everything they had over there, and just kind of set it up how I would want and how they felt about it. And they gave me the okay, and Ben gave me a hand out there assisting with stuff, and he's always got good insight. But there was a few pinch points, and then there was a nice saddle right in the middle of the property that we set up on. We did a couple mock scrapes near our stands and set the cameras up on them. And last year, I got a bunch of, I don't know, probably a dozen or so pictures of a big 6-point.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really know what to call him or anything, but by his body size, I mean, he's a big body, but he was just a big 6-point.
Yep.
And it was a pretty cool looking deer. And, I was thinking last year, I was like, well, if he gives me a good shot with the bow, I might take him next year or this year, and he never did. I did have one encounter with him in bow season. He was out about 50 yards out in the hay lot, which they turned over, and it was corn this year. But yeah, I got a bunch of pictures of him, and I didn't name him that year.
Yeah.
So then rolling into 2022, I got my cameras out, I think the week before August, or possibly the first week of August. Got them out there. Pretty much the same setup, with the wife being pregnant, and within a month of my firstborn being due, I wasn't planning on spending a whole lot of time of maybe making any changes or anything to stuff I would want to do out in the woods. Didn't really have the time. So my plan was just to kind of keep things the way they were. And we were successful last year because the stand I sat in, my father-in-law shot a beautiful 8-point out of in 2021. But
the love stand.
The love stand, and the reason the reason we call it the love stand is that where it comes to a Y in this oak tree, it actually, right in the Y, it kind of has the shape of a heart right behind the 18-foot ladder stand we have there. So that's why we call it the love stand. And it's actually set on a pinch point, and it has a logging trail that comes out to the corner of a agricultural field. And it's sitting right there on the west side of it. So going through, I guess I set my cameras up, and then I usually, after I set them up for the first time of the year, I usually, I don't know, wait 2 to 3 weeks and possibly even a month to even go check them for the first time. And I go out and I'll pull all of them. And the big 6-point popped back up. And a bunch of other nice bucks I had on camera. And there was actually some really nice bucks on camera. Yeah. But Rocky, well, he was there, and I think it was like October, the second week of October. I got a picture of a buck, and a raccoon was about I don't know, 10 to 12 feet up the tree. And this raccoon's staring down at this buck, and the buck's staring up at this raccoon. So I was like, oh, that's a neat picture, you know. I said, and it's right on the mock scrape that we made. And I was like, that's cool. And I was like, oh, that's that big 6 from the year before. So I was like, you know, like Rocky Raccoon. I'm just gonna name him Rocky.
Yep.
And he didn't really grow much, I think, in like frame size. He just, in mass, his body weight. He put out a lot in body weight.
Yep.
And the mass of his antlers really increased. But I had some bigger bucks on camera. I guess I don't know if I'd say body size, but I would definitely say
he was the biggest bodied buck, I think.
I would definitely say antler wise, there was a couple bigger bucks. And then about the 3rd week of October, I went and pulled some cards, and and it's like a 60-something acre piece, and I got 3-4 cameras out there, and I didn't have a single picture of a mature buck since the 2nd week of October. The only mature buck I had on camera was this guy over there.
Yep.
And I don't know if he was running them off, or they just had better things to do and didn't want to hang around. I don't really know why they disappeared. I'm guessing he probably would posture most things off dressing at 210. He would just push most things around.
Yeah, he's going north of 250, 260 on the hoof.
Yeah. But so I was telling Ben, I was like, hey, I said, whatever. I said, Rocky gives me a shot. I said, I'm taking it. So I went out there. So last Wednesday was when we gave you the the sit alert. So I had to work Thursday morning. I wasn't able to get out in the AM. I got out. Of course, the wife she's big into the roping and horses and stuff like that. And that Thursday's mainly her night to go to the barn and do a lot of that stuff. So, but with that front rolling in and the weather and the time of year, everything was just lining up. So I was making phone calls to my mom, to the mother-in-law. I'm like, can you please watch Owen for 2 to 3 hours for me? I would really like to go hunting. And my mother-in-law came through for me, and she said she'd watch him, which was great. Thanks, Jean.
Mm-hmm.
And I got out in the stand about, I don't know, 420, 425. I sat down. Honestly, I felt like it was a little warmer than I expected it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Had kind of a pretty north wind, northwest wind, mainly north from where I wanted to sit. And my scent was blowing right over an uncut cornfield behind me. So I got up in the stand, got all set up. I sat there for probably 10, 12 minutes. And I don't know, some people probably have a different opinion of this, but I'm a big fan of blind rattling not so much blind grunting. I've never had a whole lot of success with,
Mm-hmm.
but I've pulled a lot of deer in just blind rattling.
Yeah, a couple of the bucks.
Two of them I've killed.
Yeah.
And he was a solid 3.5, possibly 4-year-old deer.
Yep.
Another 6-point, another big 6-point, not as big as this one, but another good 6-point. He probably should have. I think he should have been a 7, but he busted one. But anyways, so I grabbed my rattling antlers. I did. The way I do that is I grind my antlers more, like as hard as I can, just dig them together. I think it sounds a little more realistic, like the bucks are actually pushing against each other, not so much the slapping and everything else that of the antlers. Definitely, rattle them around, but those pops, clicks, and the grinding. I do that for about 15 to 20 seconds for, I guess, most sequences. And I did that, sat down, was kind of hanging out. I was just kind of scrolling through Facebook or whatever I was doing. And I see a little movement out of the corner of my eye about 15 minutes later, and I see a deer, a big body deer, and he was over there, and I kind of had to move a little bit for the leaves that were in front of me, got away, and I look, and I can see he has a decent rack on it. It was a buck. And he come right into the scrape, all postured up, his ears back. He goes right into the scrape, starts digging at it, kind of looking around, starts licking the licking branches. I'm like, all right, I think it's a pretty good buck. I didn't really know what buck it was. I didn't pull any binoculars out because he was like 70 yards away, and the way that's set up, it's kind of like a Y. He's either going to come right to me or he's going to go straight, and I'm not going to get a shot. And he took my direction, and he started walking my way, and I was like, man, that's a big deer. And I still couldn't really tell. I mean, I guess when I'm in the moment, I could tell by the rack and the body he's a mature deer. And I guess at some point in there, I just decided, like, all right, I'm gonna try and kill this deer. And I just mainly focused on his body language and focused on if he was picking up on me being around there or anything like that. I was just really self-conscious of what I was doing and focusing on his body language. And he come just kind of walking in with his ears back, looking around, and then he stopped and he's looking out because there's about, the farmer left, there's probably about a 10-yard swath around the cornfield that was unplanted. Yeah, and he was looking out in that corner. Then he just, at 20 yards, he was kind of facing right at me with his brisket pointing right at me. And he turned and his head went behind a tree he was next to, and I pulled up, I drew back. Well, he turned to his left and his head went behind the tree, and I pulled up, I drew back. I ranged the tree prior to any of this even happening or even before me rattling, so I had a good estimate of how far away he was, so I knew what pin, if he was within this range, what pin to use.
Yep.
Drew back, settled my pin on him, let her go. Double lunged him. I don't even know if I could get any better shot than what I did. Not to brag, but patting myself on the back for that one.
That's why you win summer leagues.
Well, yeah, I guess that's why we shoot every week.
Yep.
Once a week.
Absolutely.
Throughout the year. But I saw the arrow go through him. I knew it was a great shot. He didn't even know he was hit. He didn't even know what just happened. He bounded up the hill. The way he was facing, about 20 yards, he stood on top of the hill for, I don't know. For me, it probably felt like a minute or two, but it was probably only like 30 seconds, 20 seconds. He was up there looking around, flickering his tail. And then he just didn't even act like he was hit, really. And then he just kind of decided he was going to walk off to the east away from me. And he made it about 20, 30 yards. And he went feet up.
Yep.
And I watched him tip over. And so, all right, excuse me if I get a little emotional with this one, because every time I say it, I get a little emotional. But I didn't know who first to call. I was like, there's Ben, there's my wife, there's my uncle, who's a big part of me in hunting, my grandfather. I was running through all that in my head while I was watching him pass or whatever out there. It didn't take long. But I decided I was going to call my wife, and then I was just about to hit send, and I decided, I was like, no, I got a better idea. And my mother-in-law was watching my son, my firstborn. So I called the mother-in-law, and I said, hey, Jean, I said, can you do me a favor? She goes, yeah, sure, what's up? I said, can you put your phone on speaker and set it next to Owen? And she did, and I told him his dad just shot a big buck. So
the first call of many.
Yep, hopefully. So that was a story of Rocky and me. Great buck. I don't know if you guys want to know what I shoot or whatever, but I think you heard me always bragging about Spitfires. But I use Spitfire broadheads, 340 FMJs, Auburn Orange Edition this year. Yep. And my bow is a Hoyt Axius.
Yep.
And I did everything lined up, but all that's nor here or there. It's all about practice, shot placement, and putting your time in. And you put your time in and you hunt smart, and I think majority of the time it pays off, and these were the results for me.
Yeah.
So, beautiful buck, my best bow buck to date, score wise, and that my biggest body deer I've ever killed. My first buck I shot with my son being born, being a part of my life. So holds a lot of emotional value, and I hope you guys enjoyed the story. And as
Rocky buck,
as Rocky,
and even on the video, guys, I mean, it doesn't do justice to the size and the frame. I mean, he's holding him a good 3 foot away from the camera. We're sitting back probably 6 foot from the camera. The mass is unbelievable. I mean, tines, he's got good 8-inch tines, 4 or 5 inch brows, just everything you could want in a 6, dude. A big, mature,
and Ben taped
banger 6.
Ben taped them, and Ben's an official scorer for Northeast Big Buck. And Green in the shed with a rough tape. You scored him at 115.
Yep. As a 6.
As a 6 point. That's pretty impressive. So.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's the story of Rocky. Thanks for listening, and I guess we'll pass it on to Friday evening. We go from Thursday.
So Wednesday, Whitetails and whiskey.
Wednesday was the sit alert. Thursday, Rocky hits the dirt.
Yep.
Friday, I get a call as I'm dropping Rocky off to Mike Perez at the taxidermist, and we'll let Ben take it from there.
Yeah. So we had a couple questions come in, and actually we'll grab those real quick. Joe G over on the YouTube, we'll hit those first. Said congrats on the Bucks, guys. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
And then Plapp's tuning in. Literally Plapp. Said, hey boys, kicking it in bow season. I'm thinking Rocky trained well and took on the territory.
Yeah. Like a little Rocky Balboa.
Yeah, little Rocky Balboa, Rocky Raccoon.
I think he was. He was a tough dude, I think. Yeah.
But, what are you knocking the mic over?
I
put him in his new spot.
And... I know, I knocked him over. I'm setting him over here.
No, you're good.
It's not about the mink tonight, so.
Yeah.
I do got a question just before we go on to your story, Bob.
Sure.
So, Nate, you mentioned, we actually talked about this last time I was on. We talked about, we don't use cell cams. We talked about our thoughts on them. But you did bring up how you tend to wait about a month to go in.
2 weeks earliest.
2 weeks earliest, maybe up to a month.
Prior to season.
So then when it comes time for that in-season data, do you then think you could see the value in cell cameras as we do come closer to the season?
Yeah,
especially
for sure.
This time of year.
I mean, the faster you can get the data, the faster you can react to it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that buck walking daylight on your camera 2 days ago and you go pull the camera this afternoon isn't helping you any.
Right.
So if that buck's walking daylight on your property 2 days ago and you get it within 5 minutes on your phone, he's there. You know where he was. Now you just got to figure out how to get in there and hopefully cross his path. I mean, cell cams are definitely beneficial in many ways, in my opinion.
So have you
But,
pulled your cameras since you killed Rocky? Pulled the cards?
I haven't even been out there. The father-in-law's been out there. He's hoping one of them bigger guys are going to slot back in.
Yeah. Once they figure out the bullies out of the neighborhood, maybe they're going to jump back into the swing of things.
Which is very possible.
I mean, it'd be interesting to see if, going back on all your cameras, seeing if Rocky did give you, a pattern he was on that you might not have seen because you weren't getting those photos every single time.
Mm-hmm. I did pull the cards the day I shot him. I just haven't gone back and grabbed any cards. And I did look at the data, and he still was the only mature buck there.
Was he on a pattern every day, 3 days, certain directions?
No, it was about once or twice a week he'd pop in.
Yeah, and again, like we say too, the camera's only getting this snapshot.
Right.
This 90-degree snapshot within 20 to 30 feet of your camera.
Yeah, there's another 270 degrees going on around it.
Yeah, and then another X number of acres. Doesn't even get a whole acre's worth of survey unless you got a narrow pinch or something like that. Mm-hmm. But
because most of them only have 80 to some, or 60 to some have like 100-foot trigger range. And
yeah, well, you're going to be able to pick anything up past 20, 30 feet. It's tough.
Right. So we got going on here. We got Joseph from Albany.
Yeah, Joe's tuning in from Albany. Got Bo Hunt was our top commenter. Bo Hunt.
Yeah, thanks for tuning back in.
He's tuning in from Central New York. And then had a question come in from CJ, who he worked with us in the grounds department when he was a student there at FLCC. So I know CJ well. He said, tonight is the first sit I've seen grunting and chasing. Do you think this heat will delay rut activity? I'll take it first, and then I'll let Nate kind of chime in on that. That's a good question. It's one I've been hearing from a lot of people. Fortunately, we hit that cold front right, and we don't have to deal with the heat. Mm-hmm. Wish I was out there dealing with the heat. To be honest, dude, it's that the hunter's paradox is what I called it the other day.
I know,
you want to tag, but you can't.
I've been talking to buddies. I'm like, I got a couple little side pieces that I don't put a lot of time in. We can go out there. I'll like film or. I was telling my wife, I was like, you haven't bow hunted a lot in 2 years. I'm like, I still want to go out. Maybe we can get you to tag a nice one. I got some nice ones on camera, and either way.
So me and my wife went out on Sunday because she wants to be with me because she's trying to decide if she wants to get in the hunter or not. Mm-hmm. So she went out with me Sunday, and we had a couple does come in. She told me not to shoot one because she thought I was going to shoot the mom of the fawn. Anyway, long story short, we had 2 bucks chase the does off the field that night, and she thought that was the coolest thing ever. I was like, this is just like a small little taste sampler of what November's like. Yeah. I said, wait till you have a frosty morning, steam rising out of their nose.
You get past that November 5th.
Oh, my gosh.
You get past that November 5th, it's amazing to be in the woods. Yeah. I might just go sit out there and not even bring my... Nah, I won't
bring the camera.
Yeah,
less. I know.
I probably ought to not bring the bow.
Yeah, or not bringing the bow.
Anyway,
I'm not going out.
So the heat, I'm letting my spot soak for the time being, other than maybe getting out there and tagging a doe. But anyway, so with the heat delaying the rut, it's not going to delay it. The rut's going to happen the same time every year for your property in your area. And that's why I'm such a big proponent of the 1-year rule. Now, even though I didn't kill hornet on a 1-year rule that I know of, I haven't gone back and looked at it. We'll talk about what deer I think hornet was 2 years ago. Again, they don't have ear tags. I can't put proof to it and whatever, but I have an idea of what deer hornet was 2 years ago, which is really cool because we do see a lot of that 2-year-old cycle back into like 3-4-year-olds coming back down. But I don't think it's going to delay it. It's going to happen the same time every year. And I'll talk into a couple other pieces of that, later on with my story as to why that worked out. But no, we saw chasing Sunday. I know a lot of people have had shot bucks, off of does or chasing does already. So I don't think it's going to delay it. I think you'll see maybe some suppression in daylight activity versus overnight. But I still think that you're going to key in on those crepuscular dawn and dusk times for your activity. The coolest times of the day, pretty much.
The mornings. And if you can find that really cool bluebird morning.
Yeah.
Those
Like this morning. This morning was a nice crisp morning.
Yeah, it was a little foggy.
Yep.
But you get them bluebird mornings, it's like like the perfect sunrise and everything, but you got them low temperatures.
Yep.
I've seen the most deer movement during the rut on those mornings.
Yeah. So you got to look at that temperature on your your extended forecast. The low temperature is going to be the next morning's start temperature, basically.
Right.
For your low. So if you're looking at the temperature and it says high of, let's just say 67, low of 45, that 45 is going to be the next day's start temperature. So that's what temperature it's going to be when, the sun comes up and the temperature's at its coldest. So to capitalize on that, and if you're looking at the whole, game plan of things, I still would be hunting my mornings right now. I still would be hunting if you can get into your good rut stands that we talk about waiting out for. Just because the conditions aren't 100%, what they could be if you had a front. We don't have a front coming for 7 days. If you got a spot that's going to be good first couple days of November, they're still going to be out there and on their feet. I had 3 people. I mean, speaking of that, I had 3 people on my Facebook today hit bucks on the way into work this morning.
Yeah, the bucks are still cruising.
Yeah, and Jake's over here saying he came close. So
thank God for that light bar.
You're not gonna delay rut activity, by any means. But I think you'll suppress it during daylight hours. But they're still gonna do it, and they're gonna do it the same day every year in those locations. Historically, it I got the data to prove it. And I've got the seat time to prove it back to back.
And then if you're unfamiliar, I guess, with a piece and you don't really know exactly where the deer are bedding, just focus in on geological features like saddles, pinch points, places that will funnel the deer down, because that will optimize your chances of getting a shot at a nice buck cruising through. Because there are, I know, I've hunted a lot of properties that there is no significant bedding on the property. You don't really know where these deer are bedding. I mean, you can pull up and you can guesstimate, maybe the neighbors, maybe the next property over, depending on your situation. But just look for those geological features. If you're looking on a hillside and you look on your topo and you see like a wide gap on a hillside, that's usually the sign of a bench shelf. And those deer do not want to walk on an angle. They're going to want to go to that bench shelf and they're going to walk that. So it might be a spot to set up or something like that.
Yep.
But no, I think Ben hit it right on with I don't think it might suppress a little daylight activity, but the rut's going on. I would just hang tight and put your time in.
Yep. And set the right stands with the right conditions. You guys still got to hunt smart.
Hunt smart.
They might be not quite as
Don't throw caution to the wind. Just
not yet.
Yeah. Still hunt like those deer aren't stupid. The bucks are going a little nuts right now, but sometimes you might have to get past a few deer before he comes through, and you got to hunt smart for that.
Yep. Yeah, because you blow the does out of there, you don't know, what that's going to mess up down the line. Or a little buck
walks by and he picks you off. He's going to go back and run through the woods and
snort, blow, whatever. Yeah,
things are going to happen.
Yep.
So you still got to hunt smart, and you just want to set yourself up in optimal situations.
Yep. So hope that answers your question, CJ. I know that was like 20 minutes ago now, because that was during the middle of Nate's story, but that's all good. My wife commented and said, "Great story, Nate." Rocky, good old Rocky.
So a lot of people will think Rocky Balboa, but it was because him and
Rocky
Raccoon were staring at each other in a trail cam picture.
See, at first, with the broken main beam, I initially went Rocky Balboa.
Most people think. I mean, he resembles Rocky Balboa. He looks like a big scrapper.
Yeah, big scrappy six.
So did he break that in velvet, or?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he was trying to put another point on there and it just didn't develop right. I don't know. We'd have to look back at pictures to really. And you're just guesstimating really at it. But yeah. And then Shanna Joe commented in, great score for Rocky.
Thank you.
So, yeah. So that's everything on the lines. Nothing came in on the bullhorn. So the cool thing about the bullhorn, like we say, is it allows us to stream over Facebook, YouTube, all that stuff, as well as have the call-in feature, which we tried out in the shed with Billy. So if you guys haven't checked out the bullhorn app, you can get that right on your cell phone. You can call in directly from your cell phone to the show if you have any questions or want to share a story of yours. So that's always an option out there, too.
Maybe one of you guys capitalized on that front last weekend.
Yeah, and we'd love to hear about it.
We'd love to hear your story.
Yep.
But let's roll into Hornet.
So Nate, like I said, Thursday rolled right off of that sit alert like we talked about. And I think Nate, word for word, said Thursday through Sunday, if you guys go back to episode 8, a lot of deer are going to hit the ground. And we got 3 of them sitting here tonight. Mm-hmm. So he kicked it off perfect on Thursday afternoon. I was sitting in a stand when he gave me a call after he said he called Owen, all that stuff, let everybody know. You shot him early, too. So,
yeah. I had him recovered by 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah. I just got home from work.
Yeah.
So the track stand across my phone.
Yeah. Got in the stand at 4:30, and he was dead by 5 o'clock and in my hands.
Yep, absolutely.
That's how we like it, but it doesn't always happen.
No. But, so I was fortunate enough to, I took Friday off because of this front that we were talking about going into the weekend, and I kind of floated the possibility of taking off Monday.
Scroll down to that.
Oh, you want to be able to see if you can see him?
Yeah, I want to see it.
So I took Friday off in anticipation of maybe taking Monday too if I needed it, if the front was going to roll through right. Friday morning went out, had a really cool encounter, kind of nerve-wracking encounter with a giant-bodied deer. After we were at the shed partying a little bit, Thursday night.
Yeah, I kept you up a little late Thursday night.
Yeah, Thursday night I got to bed a little late, but that's okay because, like I said, I was just going to the woods in the morning and, not going to work necessarily. So I got in and I remember texting Nate, and he's like, "What are you doing up?" And I said, I just got to the farm. I said, "I'm walking in." You're just like, "Holy smokes, you're going in early." And I was making a jaunt down on a 1-year rule to a spot on the farm. And I came out on this kind of flat top of this ridge, and it was just enough gray light, like you said, crystal clear morning, great looking spot. And I stopped dead in my tracks because I heard a buck. He like grunt and then snort wheezed right off the top of it. And I could tell he was close, like super close. And this is like, you barely see the hand in front of my face, gray light.
Oh yeah, this is like this is like 6 a.m.
or less. Yeah, it was early.
I called you 5:45 on my way to work, and I got to punch in at 6. I was like, "What are you doing right now?"
It's like I'm about to walk.
You got another half hour before you need to walk in.
Yeah. So I'm walking in. Have this deer start grunting and do some snort wheezes, and I could kind of see just a little bit in the kind of the mixed vegetation. I could see a deer come out within 10 yards of me. Not a very big deer, and they kind of, I could see them kind of in that hazy kind of, they're disappearing, in the vegetation, and they kind of work to my left. That deer does, and then I hear 2 more like deep grunts and like bellow grunts, and I'm like, this is a serious buck, and I could, like I said, I probably couldn't even see my hand in front of my face, and actually see it was a hand. But and then I hear him rake the ground a little bit, and he comes out, and I could see the body and just the size of the body of that deer. I was like, holy smokes! I didn't know what deer it was. Couldn't even see his rack. I could just see body, and the doe, I'm assuming that he was with, or maybe it was another buck he was walking off. I don't know. I could hear that deer eating leaves. I'm sitting right next to a locust tree. I could see that deer and hear the twigs moving as she's like eating on them and breathing. Like I could probably touch her with my arrow if I wanted to. That close. And he's out there looking large as life in the gray light. And then all of a sudden, I see him stop his movement, and he just blows and bolts. And I go, thank God he didn't run me over. So, unfortunately, right place, right time. If I'd have been in there an hour early, I might have been able to get past it, but I'd have been 2.5 hours before daylight. So, I got down to my stand location, saw a couple deer that morning, nothing I wanted to shoot. Got out, came back home, did some stuff around the house, and then actually stopped in at Nate's house and helped him take some pictures of Rocky. Family pictures of Rocky with Owen and his wife and all that stuff, which I think Nate's going to pull one up. So I took those pictures, and Nate's like, well, I want to get you going. I don't want you to be late to the stand. And I'm like, no, I said, this is important. We got to have this, these pictures done up. So, but we'll see if Nate can pull up a good photo.
Buddy can. Jake, hold that in front of that camera there, man. So that was the nice family photo of me, my wife, and Owie.
Big old Rocky.
Here. That's good, Jake. Thanks.
Absolutely.
So
So
the photographer, hunter/photographer/groundskeeper.
Yeah, everything. Real estate agent, consultant,
What don't you do?
Husband.
not a father yet, but that I know of. Anyway, so we Nate was saying he had that north wind, and it was actually dancing around to the east that afternoon. So I was like, I think, and he'd been joking all year. He's like, I think you ought to go up to Topfield. It's just kind of been the joke all year, and I was like, well, I just don't have the wind for it. It's not really.
Like
Yeah, I know Nate likes Topfield. It's where I proposed to my wife. It's got a lot of good memories. Where me and my dad have shot some birds, shot some turkeys together up at Topfield, stuff like that. So,
Easy walking too.
it's a nice, fairly easy walk into to that stand. So I actually have a northeast wind, which I have a stand up on Topfield that you can just sit with a east or a northeast wind. Southeast
wind.
A lot of east
For
wind
like
this year.
Over a week straight, we had some kind of east wind.
Mostly southeast, and yeah. So we had that east northeast, which is perfect for that Topfield stand. Gotta give a shout out to my dad. He set that stand probably 3 to 4 years ago.
Nice spot.
It is a nice spot up there in that corner. Works really well.
The woods kind of bellies out into the field just a little bit, and he's got it sitting right in the middle of that belly.
Yep.
It's nice.
Nice little pinch point in the corner that works out good, and then blows out over a valley bottom and to a neighbor's house with that northeast east wind. So it's perfect setup. So I get up in there. Haven't had any intel up there at all because I haven't even hunted that section of the farm yet this year. So again, going in low impact, finally get the right wind to hunt this spot. And we talked about it last week on Whitetails and Whiskey about bumping Hornet on a different spot on the farm. And I'm out there, had a couple does come in. I literally just got in the stand, went to sit down, and kind of pinched myself sitting down in my harness. So I stood back up, and I adjusted my harness so it doesn't pinch me again. I look over, and I literally just got on the stand. I got there, I don't know, it was early, still probably 3 o'clock.
Yeah, you got out there pretty early.
Yeah, 3 o'clock, and I got a couple does coming into the field. So they come in the field, 2 does and a fawn. Almost shot the one doe that didn't have the fawn because she was enormous. And I wanted to test out these new broadheads, but I elected to kind of let her slip through. She came in at like 22 yards. Would have been a nice, really easy chip shot. It's where I shot my doe with my pistol last year. It was out of that same stand, same trail. So I'm in there, and about 10 minutes later, I can kind of see some deer in the woods, off the field. And here comes a little buck in, a little 3-pointer. He comes in and comes into the field. Same thing. Let him go in front of me. He comes in front of me. Monkeys around for a while. Snapchat video. My sixth buck I had come in this year that I decided to pass. And that's something I've just kind of done the last couple of years. Is people don't believe me, so I snap them. Yeah, the little bucks that come through, the little 6s and 4s and whatever.
I like to take videos of them too.
Yeah.
I was in the stand that night too, and we were texting and Snapchatting back and forth.
Yep. Yeah. So I let that little 3-point go, and then he went out there and he was pestering the does, quite a little bit. And then there was a 6-pointer out there for a little while, and he was actually, he kind of feeding on the far side of the plot, keeping his distance, but he kind of kept looking to the northeast, which is kind of where the wind was, coming from in that night. And I'm watching this 3-pointer. He's really close. He's probably within 20 yards of me with a couple does, feeding and stuff like that. And then they kind of work off to the right there after 20 minutes. And all of a sudden, I kind of look back to my left, and all I see is frame and tines. And I see that before I even see a body. And I'm like, oh, that's a good buck. And probably out there 60, 65 yards from me. Just probably came onto the plot. And I put the binoculars up and I look and I'm like, oh, that's hornet. Once I saw the frame, I knew what buck it was, and I was like, I said, all right. So I said, if he comes in here and gives me a shot, I said, we'll see if he gives me one. Because, I mean, a lot of people say that, planting a food plot's like putting a pile of bait out there. It's completely different. You still got to have, your right angle for archery. You have to have them within a reasonable range. The list goes on and on. It's not anywhere close to a pile of, corn or something like that sitting out there by any means. They can feed wherever they want over that field. And the story will kind of, bring that all together for you for an example. So I see him out there, and he doesn't even care about these does. He's looking at them, he's just eating, and he's literally just going back and forth eating. And he starts kind of walking towards me, and I say, all right, I said, maybe I'll get a shot here. And just when he came on the field, range of spot, 42 yards, and lo and behold, here he comes. He comes and he walks right down the edge of that clover and that turnip plot, of the tin cup turnip plot mix. Comes right down the edge of it, and I'm like, man, it's 42 yards. I said, I don't feel comfortable with that. So I let him walk through, nice broadside, proud as a peacock. 42 yards, walk across that. So he'd already, come on the field, figured out it was safe, been on the field maybe 5 minutes, and he walked through one of my shooting lanes that you helped me trim out, and
40 yards.
40 yards is a poke. 42 yards is a poke. So, and then I get to watch him hanging out there, posturing off that 3-point and that 6-point for half hour, 45 minutes. Even when he got out to about 70 yards, I ranged him. Again, with a rifle, pistol, anything like that, he'd have been triggered a lot sooner. But with the archery equipment,
the problem with bow season. You wish you had your gun most of the time.
Yeah.
But
so he was out there, probably about 70. I think I ranged him like 72, 73 yards. And I kind of turned over my shoulder and I threw a grunt out to see if I'd bring him back over, and he didn't even pick his head up. That 3-point picked his head up, and he's looking all around. But as long as the deer wasn't getting within like 10 yards of where he was feeding, he didn't even pick his head up. He didn't care. He knew he was the best deer on the field, and nothing was going to walk him off necessarily. So, like I said, he's out there feeding, and all of a sudden that 3-point goes to leave, and he comes right to my corner where he came out at, that 3-point, and I'm like, holy smokes. And then all of a sudden I look over there and Hornet's turning and he's kind of following behind him. And I said, this 3-point's going to get this freaking deer killed. I said, no kidding. So I get kind of turned in my stand where I can shoot my shooting lane sitting down, because I would prefer to shoot my deer sitting down. And the 3-point comes through, probably 30, 32 yards, comes right in through the pinch and goes up into the woods. And I see Hornet out there like 45, and he's just hanging up out there, but he looks like he wants to come into that corner. And I'm like, all right, here we go. I'm like, this is going to be it. And he starts coming toward me, and there's a clump of ash trees there with a bunch of bittersweet vines in them. And he's behind that, and I can see him. And I'm like, as soon as he comes in this corner, I ranged it already. If he's within that pinch point in the corner of the field where they go up in the woods there, I said it's 36 yards to the far side of it. I said he's going to be within range, which is why that stand's set up there. So what's he do? He turns and he starts going back to the south from where he was coming. Instead of going north, he's coming kind of south out of the field. And so I made a split decision Well, he was going that side because obviously that's my weak side, going to the right. Well, he's behind those couple trees in the bittersweet vines. I stood up, got up on my feet, and got turned, kind of shimmy stepped down the ladder stand and, got turned around. And I can see him right on the edge of the trees. And I'm like, all right. I said, he's gonna try to take that trail under that walnut tree out of the field.
Yeah.
So I said, here we go. I said, this is going to be it. And I could see him behind that last tree. Pulled my hand out real quick, clicked that rangefinder, back in the harness it went, clipped up, had 34 yards, and he saw his nose come out just as I clipped up, pulled back in kind of one motion all together. And he took probably 1 or 2 steps out there like he was wanting to go into that trail. He wasn't going to keep feeding. He was getting ready to exit the field. And I can't shoot him once he gets out of the field and into the woods there because it gets kind of thick on the edge. And I gave him 2 little bep, bep, and settled that pin and squeezed it off. Felt everything smooth. Everything felt good. I watched that lighted knock hit him. He didn't drop an inch. Watched that knock hit maybe a little bit back, but he was quartering away, leaving the field. And I watched that knock go right in. Could still see that blue nocturnal knock hanging out the back. And he turned and wheeled, and I could see he only had about 4 to 6 inches of arrow sticking out. And I was like, oh, I stuck him. I was like, I said I hit him good. And he turned and wheeled, ran out the northeast corner, which is I'm pretty sure where he came out that night. And as soon as he broke out of the field, I heard a couple little crashes, and then I just heard a smack, really loud, like sound like baseball bat off a tree, and dead quiet. And about 20, 30 seconds later, I heard a couple does blowing, or deer blowing. And I'm like, I think he's dead right there. I was like, I think he piled up right there.
Come on, Louie.
Yeah, come on, where you at?
Come on, Louie. We gotta go.
So that was kind of the hunt in a nutshell. Waited 2 hours. Called up Nate. My wife was there. My dad was there for the recovery of him, and was fortunate enough to tag what's my best bull buck. Mainframe 10, got a little one over here. I don't know if he'll quite make an 11. And then he had a really cool sticker here that came up, probably just about to the top of the other one. But really good buck. Definitely one that was on the list for us from the beginning of the year. We'd had some pictures of velvet of him, and then getting on him. And this is actually the deer on the Whitetails and Whiskey podcast we talked about that I bumped when we were talking about not worried about bumping deer. I bumped him off of one end of the property and put him right into another end of the property, and
you killed him a week later.
And ended up killing him a week later on the same property. Probably only a few hundred yards really from where I bumped him as the crow flies. Mm-hmm. So didn't push him out of the neighborhood or anything like that, but good cover, good stand location, waiting for the right conditions for it. And, I couldn't be more pleased with it. He only went about 100, 120 yards, and that whack is when he piled right up into a big frickin' sumac tree. So, and actually the second buck that's died underneath that walnut tree where he died, Bud, the normal bar buck, died under that same tree a couple years ago, shot out of a different stand, just happened to be. So that was cool. So it was cool. He died under the same walnut tree, literally. Probably within 5-10 yards of each other.
Yeah, it's cool. You got a family property that you can have years of history with. Yeah, that's a very fortunate thing.
Yeah,
that everybody, a lot of people wish they had.
Yeah,
so that's something that your family definitely. Because your dad was into it just like you were, and that's what he wanted, and he eventually got it and
saved his whole life for it.
Yeah, and you guys put a lot of work and effort into it, and these are the results.
Yep. So there's Hornet, and he's the 2022 Whitetails and Whiskey buck, and I'm actually thinking about doing him on a pedestal mount on a whiskey barrel for the podcast and everything like that.
Shout out Mike Perez.
Shout out to Mike Perez at Perez Wildlife Artistry. Going to be doing the work for that, so We still got to figure out what form we're gonna put him on, how we're gonna mount him to the barrel, all that stuff. But I'm thinking he's gonna be the bourbon barrel buck kind of mount, so to speak, for it.
So,
But, yeah, Jake.
I had a question for you. So, how do you feel about that head, that broadhead? I know you asked me one night at league. You asked me about the head, the assailant, and I told you I was like, you know what was I said? I like him a lot. I'll bring him to you. I think I came over the next day with a couple that I had for you to try out and see how you liked. And I know you were skeptical because you had gone back to shooting fixed heads, and then you went to the hybrid. So
yeah,
how did it perform?
So I don't know. I've probably killed 20 deer probably with my bow now, give or take, with those and bucks. And in my history of shooting deer with my bow, I know that high lung hits, which is where I hit him. Actually, if he'd probably jumped the string and ducked, I probably would have whiffed him. You know,
It was a little high.
I probably held a little
you got
high.
both lungs high.
I hit both lungs high, both in the rib cage with both shots of it.
You're talking 35 yards.
Yeah, starting to slow down a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I knew I wasn't going to get that good of blood necessarily. When we got out there, it was spotty going across the field, but he tore going out that field.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little skeptical looking at the blood trail at first. I was like, I
Yeah.
could tell you were getting a little frustrated, and I wasn't going to say nothing. I was like, I ain't even going to fuel the fire.
Yep.
Because I think he's thinking what I'm thinking.
Yep.
I'm like, I don't even need to say anything.
Yep.
Then we found your arrow, and it was covered. And I was like, he's dead.
Yeah,
He's
we
like,
found that arrow. We found the
arrow.
arrow probably 40, 45 yards after the shot.
Yeah, I think you had yellow fletchings, and the yellow fletchings were red.
Yeah,
so
you couldn't even see the yellow.
And
And
it had tons of air bubbles in
oh,
it.
there was bubbles all through it. It was like all little pinhole bubbles.
I was like,
all
he
over it.
smoked. I'm like, I don't know. For some reason, he's just not gushing blood out.
Yeah. So as soon as we found the arrow, we were walking the trail the rest of the way. So it's
you look at the deer's body.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of go like this.
Yeah.
So if you hit them high lung, you're still at the top of the hourglass, I guess you could say. So they're mainly just bleeding down inside them.
Yeah.
At that
it was all jello inside.
I mean, it's just. I mean, you're gonna get some blood coming out, but I mean, majority of the carnage. I mean, it's almost like a taper. I mean, the blood's just gonna run down inside them.
Yep.
So when you get those high lung hits, I mean, it might be spotty, but
yeah. So with that buck, so I knew with the high lung hit, I wasn't gonna get that great of blood with the arrow. So I understand that 100%. But then once the arrow came out, I had both holes, so you could walk it the rest of the way. Once he got into the cover and then started going down that hill, you could walk that blood trail. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was painted. The cut was great. Like I said, I'm looking forward to maybe getting out there and tagging a doe with it to put one to use and hit one maybe a little lower. But broadhead did his job. I mean, the deer was dead within 15 seconds on the crash of the shot, 10 to 15 seconds. I mean, quick, effective, double lung, and that was with no diaphragm hit, no nothing. Performed good, didn't wreck any blades, didn't break up. The broadhead went good on impact and everything through
the one
shot.
Negative thing we did find.
Yeah, the one negative with that is with the way that the blades come back on that, it pinches against the shaft of the arrow almost.
And it punctured his FMJ.
It punctured the side of the FMJ.
Really?
Punched a hole in the side of it. So I don't know with the carbon if that would cause it to splinter or not.
Splinter on a carbon and your FMJ screwed.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, even if you got a pass through, I think it would damage your arrow somehow.
Yeah, again, I don't know. And once again, like I said, I sunk it most of the way through them enough to get out both sides, not a pass through. So the arrow obviously gets bent. If you don't get a full pass through, you're gonna have a bent shaft with an FMJ. It happens. Yeah. If it's in that body and stuff's moving around, it ain't gonna stay together and hold up. So, but I think the broadhead performed very well. It was super sharp. It cut paper right out of the package, which is what I like. I like that sharpness out of the package, and not having to sit down here and grind on it. And
you get a little more of that with the mechanical.
side
Yep.
of things. Those fixed ones, sometimes you got to do a little touching up.
Yep.
I can't tell how many times I've stabbed myself with those broadheads.
What do we got for comments here?
So-
We like doubled our
quite a bit.
comments. We better
Yeah.
catch up with people here.
So Shanna was the last comment with Nate, Rocky's buck. Nate Paddock tuned in, said Thursday the 20th. That's right. Nate shot one. Clayton's brother shot one on the 20th.
Congratulations.
So right before
Nate.
that. So absolutely.
The Nates doubled up on a Thursday night. I like it.
Yeah. So Nate Paddock shot one on the 20th.
Oh, the 20th.
20th.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. So a week from that day.
A week from that day.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Absolutely. But then my wife said, "Congratulations, Ben. Sorry I didn't know it was a big deer. Now he gets a spot of honor."
She did call it ugly when she found it. I don't know.
Well, so the really cool thing about him is he's got a ton of fibromas around his eye, which Mike hasn't seen, as many fibromas as he had around his eye, which is a bodily wart the deer get. So we're going to try to keep those as well in the mount because I think that's cool to have. Obviously, the deer, character and stuff that deer had. Actually, speaking of that, talking about the cell camera that Jake talked about and stuff like that, and having that real-time data that can be helpful, that was actually the third night after going back through. Remember when we pulled cards, took them back up there for pictures and stuff, pulled cards. He'd been out there. That was the third straight night he'd been out in that food source. So had I had a cell camera, maybe I'd have slotted in and killed him a day sooner.
Yeah.
You never know. But again, I needed that northeast wind, and that's the day I got it. So that's the day I hunted it. So,
I'm starting to think it's at least next year. I'll give it a shot with 2.
Cell cams, yeah. I mean, if you got the means to do it, definitely upgrade to a cell cam. There's no question about that. They're better.
I had a couple spots that
faster you can get the information, the better.
Spots I don't like going into, just because of access.
Yeah, I have cameras I still haven't pulled yet this year. Literally, because I haven't been back into those spots.
You good?
So, no, I'm gonna need one, especially after all that talking.
Well, you got more talking.
I know, I got to talk.
I ain't talking about your dad's buck.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I'll talk a little bit about it.
But Jake's got to go hit the little boys' room. But,
we got a few more comments here.
So Mike King tuned in, said beautiful buck. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Shanna said best buds buck club. Way to go, guys. Great stories and awesome memories. Yeah, I'm glad we were, Nate was there for recovery on that. That's something that I want to get better at is, having, a friend or two there for the hanging out. And I like being able to hang them in the shed overnight, have a couple people come over and have a beer or two.
And that was kind of the whole reason behind me setting up my 12 by 24 shed the way I did. I mean, it's obviously functional to work on things and do what I got to do and store things, but it's called the deer shed for a reason because when my buddies shoot a good deer, I mean, that's why I got the kegerator in there. That's why I got the TV. I got music in there.
Yep.
It's
got the heat if you need the heat.
Yeah, we got heat. I mean, I wanted to set it up so people just bring their deer over and the deer will be safe overnight. And we can have some fun and celebrate it.
Yep.
That was the whole point behind it, really.
Yep. So yeah, and we've had the last couple episodes from the deer shed.
From the deer shed.
But we figured we'd come back to the bar tonight and do a wrap up because we had to get into the rare breed because we killed. Mm-hmm. So Mike King also says these bucks are starting to go nuts. The does I've seen around these bucks want no part of the craziness yet. New bucks showing up daily at all of our spots, especially in the last week or so. Definitely going to get a lot of those lopers coming around.
Stranger danger, that's what I call them.
Stranger danger bucks, absolutely. But yeah, that's what it's all about. Like I said, we're kind of bummed we're missing out on it. We'll see if we get out there and
we got some big support from Mike. Mike, thanks, man. This is what we're all about.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah,
we like killing deer and drinking beer. So,
and I'm more of the whiskey guy. Nate just kind of jumped on with, I invited him out to have a good, yin and yang with it.
Yeah, I like everything. I'm more of a rum and coke guy, I guess, when it comes to the liquor. But yeah, Hell yeah, Mike. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, and this is just real life, what we're seeing, what we get asked, what our takes on it is, and it might not be what fits you, but it's what we found success in.
What works for us, what doesn't,
Yep.
and we're hoping we can help some people, and we're honestly hoping to get some help from other people that
Yeah.
give us some insight.
Well,
on
we've
it.
had some good
Always looking
ideas
to-
and stuff tune in and everything.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, and then Mike Perez comments in, great show, guys, and great stories. He's probably out fleshing deer right now.
Mike, you working on my deer yet?
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate everything you do.
Yeah. So Mike Perez, another plug for him, Perez Wildlife Artistry up there in the edge of Sodas, right on Route 14. You might look at his sign and say, hey, that's a charter, but that's actually a taxidermy shop there on 14. So Mike Perez has done all my shoulders. And actually, there's a cool piece of the story with the buck that Dad killed halfway that will kind of come with a full story with that too. So I think that does everything on the Facebook side. Gave Mike Perez a shout out, Mike King a shout out.
No one's
for the
commented
support.
on YouTube.
YouTube, Plaps hanging on, maybe or not.
He's probably sleeping by now.
He could be sleeping,
no
staring at
one
the
Plap.
ceiling. Double check the bullhorn. Nothing on the bullhorn. Got one listener on the bullhorn right now. Probably Billy Harvey.
Yeah, it could be.
Probably Billy Harvey. Always on the bullhorn. But yeah, so I guess we'll dive right into the story of Halfway. So I want to pull him down for this. He should come right off the nail. Oh yeah, perfect. So you get the screen pulled back up. So this is a buck we were calling Halfway this year, and he's absolute stud. We had a couple pictures of him early on in Velvet. Knew that he was going to be pretty heavy. Had an injury to this pedicle the year before where he broke this side off. We've had this happen at least 2 other times that I can think of on the farm the last couple years. So what happens is this pedicle gets really screwed up, and I'll hand it to Jake to put in front of the camera. He's kind of the assistant of the night. Right there, showing around the Booner spike.
Who's the lady on Wheel of Fortune? Vanna White?
Yeah.
Jake or Vanna?
Yeah. The
What do
Vanna
you guys
White.
think I'm that hot?
So if you look at that pedicle, oh, that's perfect. So if you look at that pedicle, how messed up that is and how malformed that is.
Kind
So-
of show around the backside there
Yeah.
of the broken side, Jake.
So
Not really broke. Yeah.
yeah, right there.
You can see how
So
it's-
he broke that extremely hard last year. We watched this buck quite a bit. Didn't end up finding his shed last year, unfortunately. And then, but if you look at the mass, I mean, yeah, Jake can't get his fingers around the bottom of it. He's got a beer can down there for mass on that 4-point side.
I got fucking bear paws.
I would definitely say 5+ in
Yeah.
circumference.
Definitely getting on the north side of 4
Maybe.
3/4. Thank you, Jake,
Put 'em here,
for this buck. So, couple cool things about this buck. I wasn't with my dad for the hunt. Like I said, I was hunting with my wife over at a different piece of property that night. But Dad went out, and this is actually, we did a little bit of digging back. This is the first buck he's killed in archery in just short of 30 years.
Mhm.
The last time he killed one, I was a fresh-born baby, just 3-4 months old, and him and Mom went to the woods to pack out a buck that he shot when I was just a baby. It was the last one he shot with
I've seen
archery.
that picture.
Yeah, it was the last one he shot during archery. So,
So you, he's got you in a harness too.
yep, he's got me on a little like baby carrier kind of satchel harness thing. Awesome buck. This is the first buck that my dad has actually taken off of our property since we bought it in 2008. This is the first buck that he's harvested off the property. So
He's killed some does.
he's killed a pile of does. Oh, he's stacked
He's
up.
always filling the freezer.
But like you said, he's picky. So he wanted something that was cool with character, and I mean this deer. I mean you can see, like I said, you got that base.
Yeah. What did he dress out at? He dressed out what, 180?
Dressed out 181.
181.
Dressed out 181 with missing a full half a side for weight. So
So I'm thinking if this actually this podcast really kicks off, which it seems like it's doing well.
Yep.
I'm thinking next year we should do a competition with like
a buck club.
maybe a buck club. We can like do some shout outs, and then if people like send us pictures or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then maybe do like I don't know, like heaviest doe or something. Like, but you got to use like a certain scale.
Yep.
I've seen guys do it before.
Yeah.
I've seen it because I watched them.
Bow hunter die guys. on
Bow hunter
YouTube.
die. They use them HME scales. That's what I got,
Right.
and that's where I got the idea to buy the HME scale.
Yep.
And
we scaled all these 3 bucks with the same scale: 210,
210,
181, and then 167.
70, yeah, 167.
167. Yep. So mine was actually the lightest one of the batch.
Hoping to add one to that
But-
here shortly.
But yeah, so no, he was a brute, and like I said, we weren't much into the hunt long at all when Dad called me and said he shot this buck. I mean, we were pretty early on in it, and actually that same night, talking on the 1 year rule, Dad's buddy went out there, was also hunting that night at our property, and missed one of our target bucks that we'd been after too. He missed Larry. So Larry's got a little bit of 9 lives going on. It just
Yeah,
happens to be a Larry
Hey,
thing.
Larry seems to be popping up in everybody's
Yeah,
sites.
so Larry was the morning that I shot Hornet. My neighbor hit Larry, tracked him all over, couldn't find him. So then the next night from that, 2 nights from that, sorry, because that would have been Saturday and then Sunday. So Sunday night, my dad's buddy missed Larry, took a picture of him before he shot at him, whiffed him.
Can't kill him.
Just can't kill the deer. He's been hit already
Poor cat.
once. Got cat-like reflexes, 9 lives. So Larry got hit, but he had a doe pinned down, and like I said, that would have been where I'd been hunting on a 1 year rule on Halloween. I'd have been in that stand or in that spot, and that's why Dad's buddy Joe was down there.
And it sounded like his rangefinder, he might have been picking up something that he didn't
Picking up
notice.
some grass or something there.
And he ranged a little under what he was. He shot under him.
Yeah, he
So,
shot way under him.
Yeah.
Yep.
But,
So,
it
and
happened.
that's a good point too, to make sure your gear's right, make sure your knocks are, new knocks or knocks that have fresh batteries in them. Rangefinder's got fresh batteries.
So I've had arrows that I shot through leagues all winter, all summer, and
We do have a tendency to
those
shoot
those
each other's
knocks.
arrows.
Yeah.
Well, that you get some arrow slap. Those knocks will get loose.
I just you guys know that I tinker with everything all the time.
Wow.
I'm always trying new arrows set up. So
Oh yeah, you're always messing with new stuff.
whether it's something new with my bow, equipment, arrows. So I actually keep about a dozen extra knocks just for as much as we shoot. Because when we shoot leagues, we're hitting what? We're each getting an arrow hit every other target,
Right.
give or take.
Mhm.
So
And then I think Ben might have touched on it a little bit. But for those of you that might be wondering, if any of you are wondering, I'm not really sure how this deer is already in skull form from from Sunday. We wanted to get him Ben and Brian donated the Cape to Mike Perez for a donor buck, which is kind of another little cool story behind that.
Yep.
That Ben can get into when I finish up.
Yeah.
But so it was pretty gruesome looking, and we were trying to figure out how we were gonna present this deer.
Yeah, because the hide was all
obviously,
gone, and then it
the
was
hide
all
was all gone. It
muscle
was
and
just
everything
flesh
else.
and eyeballs. It was pretty gross. So shout out for Jesse again on my part. Ben's done this before. I'm not sure where he learned it, but Jesse is the one that taught me how to boil down a deer, and within 24 hours you can have them on your wall.
Yep.
And that's what we did. We decided was a Monday night. You stopped by, and you were dropping off my deer, Rocky, from Mike Perez for the podcast, and we were talking, and you were like, "Man, I don't know. I got to figure out a way to present them." And I was like, "Well, I got everything to do it.
It's just one of them outdoor turkey cookers that I got an old pot. I got an old canning pot that I throw on top of it, fill it with water, boil them down, and just take a knife and start scraping and hacking.
Mm-hmm.
And usually within 5 to 6 hours, you can pretty much get them like this.
Yep.
The night ran a little late. We didn't get it completely done. It took me probably Ben did most of the work the first night, and then I did a little finish work, and I used hydrogen peroxide to bleach them.
Or you can use. I know my dad's used bleach in the past.
Bleach. I've heard OxyClean works, or yeah, OxyClean. Is it OxyClean?
Yeah, I've heard OxyClean before too. Yep.
I don't think it's what I'm supposed to be. Yeah, maybe it's OxyClean. But either way, you dump out the dirty water that you're boiling all the meat off with and everything, and you start with fresh water, and you add your peroxide and tape up your antlers so you don't bleach any of that. And put them in there for, I don't know, 5 minutes or so, and you pull them out, and it gives them a nice little white shine.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's kind of a rough DIY of how you can have a skull mount on your wall in
a night or two,
in 24 hours of
Yep.
shooting the deer.
Right.
If you got the time, and if
I would definitely recommend.
if you don't have a weak stomach, it's definitely something you and a buddy or two can hang out, have a few beers, and have some fun. So
Yep.
that was just a little touch on that, and Jesse gets a shout out like every other show.
Oh yeah.
Got to get him on here.
Yeah.
He said we tried getting him on here, and he says no, I got to kill a buck.
I got to
first."
kill. I got to
kill a
kill.
buck. Well, he did. He got a nice doe.
Yep.
I think we gave him a shout out
Yep.
in one episode. I
Yep.
don't remember, but he got a nice doe.
When
But-
isn't he killing something?
He's
Always.
yeah, he's always hunting something or fishing for something.
Yeah.
Um,
So we want to get him done, but kind of fitting. Mike offered to help me out, and when I shot my first bull buck, I didn't have the means or the money to pay to get him mounted. And through the relationship we've had over the last couple of years, he offered to do, my first bull buck for me as basically a remount. I did a skull mount like that with him, which was nice, but I just didn't, like I said, I didn't have the money to shoulder him. So Mike's been offering, and we've been looking for capes, and had one, wasn't big enough, had one, was spoiled, blah 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 blah. So the mount of Dad's first bull buck is at the farm is going to be the same cape that goes on to my first bull buck, which is cool to tie it all together. Came off the same piece, same property, everything like that. So just literally over the hill from where Dad shot his buck is where I shot my first bull buck. So donor cape on that buck is coming off of Halfway. The first of the Phelps bar bucks to fall victim this year.
Yep.
Just happens to be Halfway. Got a couple other ones around, hanging around. Smokey for Smoking Tails, and Dono for the wine bar, and Clipper got the pass already. So
Going back to your story about how that cape is going to be used.
Yep.
This was I brought this up to my dad. What was it? Sunday. He and I were together, and I made the comment of I've always used the rattle bag. I haven't found enough big enough sheds or killed a buck or I've killed bucks, but not one that I wanted to make into a shed to rattling antlers. So I actually asked my dad, I was like, for all the times we'd been together and you'd killed a buck when we were together, do you have one in mind that you'd want to maybe make into a set of rattling antlers? Something so that
well, sentimental.
so I could have like an old hunt of he and I
right
with me at all times now in the woods. And I actually I got a text today at work saying that it was ready, so I'm gonna stop and pick that up tomorrow night.
Nice. Tomorrow night, tell him to get it ready for tonight. You're off tomorrow.
I know, but
you got deer to go after.
But I don't want to be swinging into my parents' house at 9:30 at night.
Yeah, that's true.
This
is true.
His new retirement job, and my mom working. I don't want to swing in and kick the door in like, "What's up?"
Yeah, what's up? Where's my antlers?
No, that's very cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, Mom said 2007. Yeah, we bought the farm in 2007. So this would be going on year 13 or 14.
Yep.
Dad's first buck off the farm.
That's awesome.
Good old halfway.
And the nice thing about, I guess, this podcast, I think you get a little contrast between someone like you who's had a piece for, over a decade.
Yeah.
That you guys have worked very hard on every year to get it to where it is, and passing deer and the heartbreaks of whether they get hit in the road or
Poached or
neighbors and all
congrats
those.
to a neighbor that kills one or whatever. Yep.
It's always a bummer when you're all excited about a deer and someone else gets them. You're obviously happy for them to an extent, but it's always a little bit of a bummer that you were after them. I think we've all been there. But and then me, on the other hand, I just hunt permission pieces. I'm pretty limited.
Small lease pieces and
little small lease pieces. I don't have a lease. I think over 60 acres. But I'm limited to how I can alter, I guess, food and everything. So I gotta hunt it at whatever the farmer puts out there and adjust the things. So there's definitely two different styles of hunting. It'd be cool to get Tomes on here one time. He's turned into quite the public killer.
Oh, well, we're gonna have to wait. He's on a 2-week Indiana, Ohio trip.
Yeah,
right
he's
now.
what is he, a county or state or town worker? So he gets the winters
works for
off.
Midland Asphalt.
Oh, okay. So he's off
all winter
during the winter. So he's got time to do all that, which is great for him.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be cool to get a little different perspective there sometime.
Yeah, he killed a public stud here in New York.
He's killed
a couple.
Good publics in Ohio.
Yeah, killed a good public in Ohio last year. Killed a nice one on a permission piece last year, and then killed a stud on public this year, dude.
I've known Ethan for a while, and you've known him better because he's been your neighbor.
Yep.
Him and my brother and my sister all worked on the same farm that I hunted on, and I worked there a little bit when they needed some help during harvest and stuff. But got to know Ethan a little bit over the years, and he's quite knowledgeable and quite the hunter. Yeah, he's quite good at what he does.
Yeah,
so.
Shout out to Ethan in Indiana. Good luck, man. Tag one.
Good luck, Ethan.
Yeah, he's in Indiana right now with Taylor, who we shoot leagues with. He's out there with Taylor right now, and I think they're going to Ohio next. I think I got a couple days left in Indiana.
Yeah, but good luck, Taylor.
Finding quite a bit.
I didn't realize Taylor was out there with him.
Good luck, boys.
Yeah.
Finding quite a bit of dead bucks, actually. Holmes was snapping me today.
I've heard a lot of reports of bad EHD.
In some areas, yeah.
Like real bad.
Mm-hmm. I heard something about that, too.
I don't know if it's just me thinking this, but, with our friendship with all of each other, going back over the years of, helping you out on the farm, and it's just, you almost kind of feel like a little, I don't know how to say it, like you get even more excited. Like we all get excited when a buddy kills a deer, but knowing that like we've helped in a way, either trimming stands or something on the farm, and then to see it pay off, it adds just a little bit more to that excitement.
The story.
That's just part of being a blue collar guy. I mean, you like to see results from the work you do with your hands, and that's all. That's all part of it. But those are our stories. I mean, where are we at in time? How long have we been on here?
We're sitting just under an hour and a half, which is right about where we like to be.
Yeah, so we're doing good. Anything else?
So any comments from anybody coming in? I know Mike King and Mike Perez tuned in tonight. Bo Hunt always. I think Bo's just probably been listening to the stories tonight rather than asking all the questions. But
might not have been super informative this week, but it's kind of a fun podcast.
But yeah, and I know Steve Westfall tunes in because he's liking comments.
Steve,
I know he's not commenting in, but he's there.
Steve's my buddy.
He's a neighbor.
He's
what a great guy.
Steve's my guy.
What a guy. What a guy.
Their family's great. Best neighbors you could ask for.
Yep.
That's actually who where I killed my bow buck last year was on a little lease I have from them guys. And they're very generous, caring, that treat me and my family like their family. So it's
Good people.
great people.
Good people. Always. Well, I think if we got nothing going on the live chat, I think we do a show around all the bucks and an apple for the road.
What's that? A bird dog?
Oh, yeah.
You want to do a bird dog apple for the road?
Bird dog apple for the road tradition.
Yeah.
Jake holds up halfway. You hold up Rocky. I hold up Hornet. And we do a sign out shot. And
Yeah. And cheers, everybody. Good
cheers,
luck
everybody. Good luck.
for
And
the rest of their season. Sounds like a plan to me.
Jake's over there getting ready. I'll grab halfway down for Jake so we don't knock anything over. But yeah. No, and like always, guys, want to thank everyone for tuning into this and helping make this podcast what it is.
I know. I think I actually saw we had 15 viewers at one point. That was, of course, not on all of the apps, but
Yeah, on the Facebook side of stuff, yeah. And then the last,
we had quite a few people.
and a
tuning
quick
in
shout out,
listening.
we were just short of, I think it was like 550 or 600, almost between
We
550 and
almost had
600.
600 total views on the last episode.
Last episode alone. So, and that's just on the YouTube channel. So, I know it's been picking up some traction, and
Hoping it goes
yeah.
forward.
So,
I listen
We'll
to
have-
work next day when I can't make it.
yeah, we'll have Jake Holden.
Well, hopefully we got Jake's buck next week.
yeah,
He
and he can
he
stop
tell
in.
his story.
I'm
And he
hoping.
can stop in.
Yeah, I'm just gonna come around and join you guys.
Yeah,
next
Go
week.
for
get
it.
over here.
Absolutely.
Over here,
Rocky.
old Rocky buck.
Hornet buck.
Maybe will you hand me that shot, please?
I got it right here. It's in between.
Oh,
what a
guy.
And,
Oh, tell Jake we need to see his Grizzly Adams face next time. Flap, your wish is coming true as Jake comes behind the bar for this.
Don't worry, Plap. I got you.
Keith also says, nice job, guys. Keith from
Keith
Gosh.
was on our episode last week.
different Keith.
Different Keith.
Different Keith.
Oh, okay.
Squirrel
I-
Keith?
Aggressy. I can't pronounce his last name. I know I'm butchering it.
Oh,
He
okay.
works with another real estate company here in New York, specializing
Oh, okay.
in land. So
Keith, thanks for tuning
Yeah.
in.
So-
Sorry, I mistaked you. for
So we
somebody else.
got Rocky in order. We got Hornet, and then we got halfway. Then my dag tagged. First buck in almost 30 years for him. First buck off of our family property that he bought in 2007. So with that, guys, I will propose a toast with a traditional bird dog apple after the private stock tonight. Good luck to everybody this year. Be safe. Shoot straight. Thanks for tuning in to Whitetails and Whiskey, guys.
Good luck.